let's go live, and then we can fix up the last few things before we go live. So, let's see. Should be live now in theory. I'm going to set up my thingy so I can look at all the things. In theory, they should be able to hear us now, even though all they should be able to see is a title card.
Alright, well, I'm gonna...
Hey, look, I'm live.
I can hear you on the YouTube stream just
oh,
fine.
goody.
So I'm gonna mute that and just keep that on the other side of things here.
Yeah, nice. I'm going to... Hold on, pause that. There's my... actually want to open this the other way, don't I? So, let's see here.
And, well, we're having technical difficulties, and the show is about to start.
Oh yeah, that's one of the fun things people get with they look at the pre-show. That's what we're going to call this.
Nice.
And by what we're going to call this, I mean what we've called this for a while. Because it's...
Preamble to the show.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, so now I've got the chat over here, which I'm going to put in a window over here so that I can see it as it comes up, just in case anybody chats. I can't see how many... I don't remember how I got to my other screen last time that had more information. I should probably figure that out, but I'm not going to do it right now. I'm going to do it later. Now, to get the game, I'm going to open this thing and start the game. Oh, wait, I should also get the podcast notes up.
Yeah, do I have access to those still?
As far as I know.
Yeah, we're real professional.
Yep. Should still be in that Google Doc.
Yep. Out loud.
Okay, let's see. Now I will open Fallout 4 for PC. Hey, I've got 2% of the achievements. That's pretty cool.
Last time we did a proper episode of this was in 2021.
Yeah, it's been a while, eh? Now to place this in a place where it's not in front of too many things. I placed it in front of everything.
Podcast topics. There we go.
I've forgotten how to get to my kind of streamer dashboard on the YouTube side, so I can't change the name of the video. Because currently it still is called Sean Plays Fallout 4, which is what I'm going to play. But also, I was going to name it a podcast episode, which usually I do right after we...
Fallout 4 Part 2. Also,
Yeah.
Chris is here.
Yay, Chris. Chris is the best Chris. The other Chris's all suck.
Also, I'm going to statistically average it out.
Alright, well, I've got enough of what I need, I think. So, now I'll go to this thing. Is the, is my Fallout 4 music coming through now?
It's good. We have that delay, so I gotta wait a bit.
Right, yeah. Just to make sure. I want to make sure that's not too loud either.
I'm not hearing it coming through.
Okay. Might be because I tabbed over to the... Oh, because I'm not in the thing. It'll come out when I come into the thing. Okay. Anyway.
So if y'all tab into
Yeah, if I go here, where we are, now we're on the stream. And so is the game. So, hooray! Yeah. This is the part of the show where I start with the ubiquitous opening monologue, unless the volume is too loud on this. Is it? Can you hear me pretty good on the stream, Chris?
I can hear you pretty good on the stream.
Okay, the volume from the game isn't too loud?
I can't hear the game almost at all. So.
Okay, then that's good for that. Although it's a little loud for my liking to have a conversation over it, so I might change that when I get into the game. Anyways, here's the ubiquitous opening monologue, if I can find my cursor. Hello, Internet. My name is Spamoman, as always, your host of Drink to the Past, the only podcast where I took a 2-year break and now I'm back. Also, share, subscribe, and ring the bell to get notifications sometimes when we go live on YouTube. We're no longer every Friday. We're now whenever we feel like it, because life exists and happens and is a thing. So, I am joined by co-host and or guest.
Hi, I'm Chris. Always
Good job. Alright. So I'm going to be playing some Fallout 4 today. Where'd it go on this? Oh, there it goes. It went away for a moment.
little OBS window there.
Right, yeah, I noticed that. So anyways, now I'm back. Okay. So I'm going to go to the settings here and get the... because that's just a little loud for me to have a conversation over. Anywho, hooray, we're back. We're having a podcast and such.
Feels like it's been very incredibly long time since we last.
Right. Now I can't get my cursor back over to the second screen. That's the problem with streaming like this. It's going to look weird for a minute. It's going to show you all my apps instead, because I need to get this out of the way so that I can see the actual what I need to, which should be fine. Anyways.
No, not your apps.
Yeah, you can see my whole desktop. My whole desktop is showing. Anyways, let's see. News and booze, video game. Okay, so anyways, that should be okay. I guess I'm going to put this over here, and then I can see both things at the same time. Then I can return to this game here, and then everything should be fine. Cool. Okay, so, yeah, first order of things is news and booze. The only... We have a lot of news I'm sure we could catch up on, but we'll leave... Yeah, that was kind of what I was thinking, because basically we've had our E3, not E3 season, which has been mostly the Summer Game Fest stuff, which I thought I've been keeping up with reasonably. I wondered if you had, because in past years on the podcast, we had a thing where, like, I'd just be like, hey, this is all the stuff that happened, and then you'd react to it. Have you... Right? That's pretty great. So, yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing I think that I'm taking away. There's a lot of great announcements from every studio, I think. But my favorite game series of all time, of course, is Zelda. So that's where I'm at. For the news and booze, we have to have booze also. So today, for Sean Drinks Something Stupid, I actually got a cocktail shaker, Chris. Are you impressed? I'm not mixing my cocktails in a freaking Tupperware like that last time. That was funny, though. Anyways, today my mom got me this taco, so I'm going to put it in my drink. So I'm going to put the whole taco in there.
For some reason, I know you told me.
I mean, actually, a Choco Taco, I bet, you could melt that down, put it some, like, Baileys and, like, Kahlua, and that'd be a good friggin' drink. No, this is an actual taco from Taco Bell, so thank you for sponsoring my stream, I guess. Now I'm going to mix this with some Bloody Mary mix, because it seemed like the kind of liquid that you do. And I've even got a muddler, which is a fancy tool that I didn't have one time when we were doing... some kind of drink on the previous podcast. By previous podcast, I mean exactly the same podcast, except for now we're back. Anyways, so I ended up... I don't remember what I did. I ended up, like, just squishing it all together with something. So anyways, kind of kind of muddle that together. That should become a slurry of taco-y Bloody Mary goodness, I guess. I forgot the booze. Hold on, I need to go get the vodka. I knew I was forgetting something. Yeah. And now Chris is going to tell you about some weird tabletop that he just bought while I go get some vodka, because I forgot the vodka.
What weird tabletops have I bought? Too many. Which one do I want to pick? Let's see. I know Yoon Suin second edition has come out. At least in BF format for Kickstarter backers. I have that. Can't show it off. Was a big fan of the first edition. Big fan of the second edition. Let's see. Worlds Without Number, I think, was another one of those signed no mine games that I happen to have on hand. Really like that as just a pure distillation of like old T&D with some modern sensibilities. And I also have Sinless, which is the one I could run and physically show off if need be, which is by an author that I have a lot of respect for, Courtney Campbell, who was implementing kind of his own version of Shadowrun, but updated and a lot more in system and structure for the person running the game.
Neat. Anyways, I put a little bit of gin in here because I had a little tiny bit of gin in the bottle, and I figured it's a good excuse to go get another bottle at some point. And then I got this Van Jack Colorado vodka. I bought this because I was like, sweet, Colorado local something something, and it kind of sucks a lot, but it does what it does for mixing. I'm going to measure this very exactly. You put in about that much. And now I'm going to shake it.
I'm also realizing I need to move what I'm looking at because it is very awkward looking to the side constantly.
Alright, now we're going to shake this up like some sort of fancy cocktail person. Really get that essence of taco in there. So, I could have put ice in this, I guess. You're supposed to put ice in cocktail shakers when you shake stiff most of the time, I think. I don't know. I'm not really a cocktail guy. I'm just one who plays one on the internet, like, then clearly doesn't know what I'm doing. Anyways, ooh, it smells very tomatoey, very much like that kind of ground beef seasoning in there. So this might be okay-ish, or it might be horrible. I got about enough for you, Chris. I'll leave it here, so just leave it on the counter so that, you know, the next time we play D&D in a month or two, yeah. You can, yeah. Nice is a strong word. So anyways, let's give that a go, shall we? All things considered, could be worse. Tastes like a liquid taco. This is basically what it is. Lettuce does not belong in drinks. The beefiness kind of works, like having a little smoky bit in, like, basically a Bloody Mary. Like, that kind of works. Like, I've made Bloody Marys before with bacon vodka. It gets that smokiness in there. So its biggest fault is that it's chunky, really, which is the obvious problem when you are putting a literal taco into your booze. Kind of got some chewy bits, so. Well, that's my supper, so I guess I'll keep that. Alright, yeah. Anyways, so, is there any other particular Summer Game Fest things you wanted to talk about, or Nintendo Direct before we move on?
I do know that Final Fantasy XIV Dawn Trail is coming out, I want to say, about a week here. I've forgotten the exact date, but that's something I'm personally excited for, because that's, you know, everyone has the one MMO that they get into, and then they never get into another MMO, no matter how hard they try. And for some reason, Final Fantasy XIV was mine, so Dawn Trail is the expansion I'm excited for.
Man, I guess I was just too stupid when I got into WoW then, because I should have waited for something good. Like, it makes so much sense, because I tried to get into FF14 when it kind of exploded, and you and some of our other buddies were playing a bunch, and I was like, I'll play too. And then I just didn't have the time and stuff. Hey, I can rotate this sniper rifle in the loading screen. That's completely random and pointless. gun. So basically, to catch anybody up who's interested in the actual stream, I just got out of the vault for the first time. I guess my baby's been abducted and my wife is dead, so guess I gotta go explore this world and get sidetracked by a million things and never find out what happened. That's exactly what's gonna happen. I'm calling it now. Because that's how open world, especially Bethesda games, work for me. Because I'm just going to go into houses like this and dick around and look at all the stuff. Used oil can. It's weird how you can, in this one, like, instead of going into the thing, it just shows you what's in containers and, like, in a little menu thing. So. Oh, wait, I went home?
Meant to be a time-saving feature.
I mean, I guess, but it's still just, like, backwards to what I think of. Oh, caps. That's good. Not that my character actually has any reason to know that caps are good. Because I just got out of a thing.
It's kind of an assumption. It's kind of like me leaving that stash of caps for whoever finds my place after the apocalypse happens.
Right?
I don't have any reason to think they're valuable. But, you know, whoever finds it in like 120 years might.
Hey, it's my old butler robot.
He's dead. Wait, he's alive.
Who's dead? My butler robot? Yeah, he seems to be alive. Everything's dead. You're still here.
Really alive, that's the question.
Oh, who knows? There was one of these in the Fallout show, and neat stuff happened, and I was there for it. So if you haven't watched the Fallout show, I would recommend that. It's my favorite new show this year. It's really good. Even if you're not like into the games, I feel like you can get enough context that it'll be fine. Because I'm not like an expert on the games. I've played 2 of them. This is my 3rd. Because I played Fallout 3 and New Vegas. I really loved New Vegas. And I guess we'll see how this is going. So.
And frustratingly, I've watched the first 4 episodes of the Fallout show and not the last 4 episodes.
Right, yeah. I just was binging them today, so I've watched 7 now. It remains good.
Okay. I was assuming. I think it's a great show.
Yeah. All right. So anyways, do we want to move on to our video game topic? Since that's mostly the news and booze, because, you know, I mean, I guess we could go deeper into any of those given reactions or...
Do you want to do a what you playing, or is it like, we don't care?
Oh, yeah, I guess I did put stuff on my list for what you playing. So, what you been playing, Chris?
Other than, you know, the ubiquitous Final Fantasy 14, been playing some Ocarina of Time randomizers. Those are a lot of fun.
Nice.
Been playing, let's see, Helix and Helix 2. I don't know if you've heard of those.
I have not, that I know of. I don't know.
They're kind of bizarre claymation JRPGs.
Okay.
And they also have quite possibly the sharpest spike in music quality across the games. Where the first game had what they would, some people might call diarrhea music.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second game and the concept albums that came after had incredible music.
Nice. I like anything with good music.
Yeah.
Because that's always cool. I have also been playing Ocarina of Time, but not randomizers. I actually just restarted Master Quest because I at some point during my several moves in the last like 4 or 5 years, I've moved back and forth a couple of times to different places, and somehow I lost my copy of Master Quest, but I found one good on a Facebook deal for a decent price, so I rebought that again, and it felt kind of annoying to rebuy it because when I had first bought it, it was like, you know, when the GameCube era, it was probably Wii era. So the GameCube era was like super cheap because nobody wanted that because everybody was moving on to Wii. So I paid like $8.99, I think, for it the first time at a used game shop. And now it's, you know, of course, GameCube is kind of the collector's market right now. So I ended up paying like $65 for it, which is a lot cheaper than I've seen it for online. Because I feel like it regularly goes for $100. So I was like, all right, I'll take it. So.
Seems like a pretty good price.
Yeah.
Yeah, classic games market is just
Yeah, that's kind of how that works, I guess. But other than that, I've also been playing a lot of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth because that came out like a while ago. But it's just there's so much content kind of crammed into that game that it's kind of been a little bit slow going. Just because I get to because each like kind of big story chunk you go to the next area and it's kind of like a new big open world like zone. It's like I think individually none of them are like a huge open world, but they're big enough that it takes probably a good dozen hours or so to do everything in them because there's a ton of collectibles and side quests and mini games. This game, one of the funny things about this game is it just has so many fucking mini games. It's crazy. um, I'm just like, it's simultaneously frustrating and like nostalgic because like games of the original Final Fantasy VII in that era, games of that era had just tons of mini games for no reason. Like every game had a mini game, right? It was just a thing. A lot of games had a lot of mini games. Final Fantasy VII had a lot of mini games. So I'm like, it's neat, but also there's just so much shit to do, and I kind of want to just go to the next story part, but I haven't beat all these guys in Queen's Blood.
It's funny how game design kind of grew some very weird branches, and there was stuff that was all over the place like 20 years ago that you never see anymore because everyone collectively decided it sucked.
Right.
But I kind of miss it at least in abstract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then I've been playing a little bit of Hellblade 2, not a ton. I just started it the other day. It's it's cool. Um, it's very cinematic. Like the first one was. I don't know. It's hard to tell exactly if I'm. I don't know because it. So far, it feels like it doesn't do like the audio design and the voices quite as well. But it's also like I'm only like less than an hour in. I've basically kind of wandered around one area and killed the first boss, and so far it doesn't seem like it's quite as like it's differently good because it's like the cinematics and just the way that the game works cinematically while still letting you be in control of it feels like an improvement, but also like just the audio design and the immersion was such a big thing in the first game that it's like I think that's hard to stack up to, and maybe it's just because I've hyped itself up too much in my mind. I don't know. Very good kind of opening. The only like big complaint I have is that the first boss took way too long to kill for no reason. He was just like such a damage sponge for I felt like no good reason. I'm like I'm doing good enough in the combat. I've hit this man like 8 billion times and like it keeps doing these things through the boss fight where you're hitting him and then he'll do some cool thing and put you in a headlock and you'll get out and it's like it's just really cinematic. Everything that happens is really cool, but it's also like uh, are we doing this again? I like it's like a cutscene between phases of a boss, but there's not actually phases. He's the same fight the whole time. So it's like I felt like that kind of slogged on a little bit, but then once I was done, I was like, okay, sure, I guess. I don't know how much of a problem that'll be going through as well.
It sounds exhausting. I
Hmm.
guess that's not the right word to use there, but the whole, oh, we want to show you every cool animation we made.
Right. Sorry, I'm listening to the robot slightly too.
Yeah.
It's a weird.
You might want to turn on. I was about to be like, turn on subtitles. I can't hear it. I have the YouTube stream on mute.
Right. Yeah. Wonder if I can actually do that. Oh, hey, yeah, I can pause in the middle of a thing. Display. Will that be in display? Dialogue subtitles. Boop. Okay, here we go. That'll help a little bit.
Yeah, let's just add a little. What is it? One of those runner games at the bottom to keep people's attention.
The what?
also to like keep people's attention on it because
Ah,
we can't pay attention to things for more than 5 seconds.
right. Yeah, that's one of the things that I have kind of a disconnect with the TikTok era of video like content. I'm just like I I'm very disconnected from it. I don't understand it at all. And I'm like, I respect it in some cases because like in order to make that kind of content, that consistently, I guess takes, time and effort,
Yeah,
But it's also like I don't usually want to watch that type of content, I'd rather sit down and watch, 6 hours of Fallout this morning. Uh, Not that I know from experience, except for I totally know from experience. Uh,
I tend to prefer the long form content
yeah,
these days, and not just content, but like shows and stuff.
right. And it's one of those things where like even like when I do watch that kind of content, it'll be like a quick cooking video or something. But even those, I prefer like the longer ones, because sometimes you'll see like a 10-20 minute like, oh, here's what I'm doing, here's my whole process. Those things are interesting to me. Or like if it is a shorter thing, it's usually like stand up bits that are just like comedians will put on their profile just for like, oh yeah, here's some advertising, right? And it'll just be a chunk of their bit. But then the problem I feel like with that is like they're just kind of getting into the bit, and then like they're done, and then I'm like, but that wasn't enough to be interesting. But I liked what was there, but it cuts too soon, and it's just like, and I kind of get that because obviously they got to make a living by actually selling tickets to live shows, but also I'm just like, I don't get this kind of content that because I'm just like, now I just want more, which I guess is a okay reason to go buy a ticket to see some comedian or whatever. But I don't know. It more bothers me that I don't like the content than it does make me want to actually do something about the fact that I want more.
It's so my understanding of it, and by no means am I like an expert in this. My understanding is that a lot of those cuts are done to fit the format of the short, and they're done because it's what the algorithm rewards. It's how they get seen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if it cuts out the best bits or it doesn't give it time to develop, whatever, you're making money, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But
They're like
it's
a
like I can't blame them.
yeah
Like you said,
yeah. I missed what he said, so now I'm not sure what question I'm what he was asking. I'm gonna say maybe. Now I'm immediately gonna go ransack everybody else's house instead. Uh, Eventually, I'll get back to him,
not using it,
right? Yeah. So, anyways, now that we've had a accidental tirade on that, let's see. So we've done what you playing. We did some news and booze. Shall we do the video game topic? Because that's kind of what I kind of had this like idea when I texted you like last week or whatever, and I was like, hey, you want to do a thing? Because I had this kind of idea in my mind just from watching like things unfold uh, over the last like few months, especially. Particularly, this is about Xbox, but it's also kind of a thing that, like, in some cases, it happens throughout a lot more than just Xbox in the gaming industry, and I think it's an important thing to kind of um, uh, draw attention to and kind of consider at the very least whether or not you're doing anything about it. Like it's because we're in a weird place now because video games are coming along and becoming, they've been a billion-dollar industry forever. But anyways,
yeah.
so
It was the stuff that happened kind of at the beginning of the year, and like continuing throughout the year, all of the industry-wide layoffs.
yeah, because
Uh,
I
Despite the financial success of these publishers and studios, they're like, okay, go fuck yourselves.
yeah, that's basically kind of it. Because especially with Xbox at the start of the year and like kind of through the first like 6 months, basically they were. I got a kind of a little rundown here. So, among other studios Microsoft acquired in recent years, they have shut down Arcane Austin, Alpha Dog Studios, Tango Gameworks, and Roundhouse Games. And that's just kind of tip of the iceberg. Those ones were the ones that came with the Bethesda buyout, and there's other ones that have come and gone as well. So these ones were worked on like the Mighty Doom, which was their Doom mobile game that they tried to sell for a little while. I mean, it's probably still available, and because it's mobile and microtransactioning, I'm sure it's probably making decent money. They also made Redfall, which was not as well reviewed, but looked kind of neat. I don't know. I didn't get into it, but I didn't hear any good things about it. So, but particularly Hi-Fi Rush, which was very well appraised critically and commercially. It's like for a small team working on just a neat experience. Like I don't think you could say. I think it would be hard to argue that it wasn't a success by every measurable standard. You know, critics love it, people love it. It's just a neat, fun game.
Game Award? I know we didn't cover that.
Well, it came out this year technically, so it wouldn't have been in the Game Awards yet. Because it came out in January, I think. I'm gonna take this dirty black suit and maybe I'll wear it.
Thinking of a different game.
Yeah. I don't know. But anyways, it's like then a couple of months later, Microsoft's just like, oh yeah, you guys just finished up your game and it was an amazing success, but we're just gonna lay off the whole company and close you down because according to them, basically the reason that they're doing this is a lot of like some of it kind of makes sense, but a lot of it is also like how much of this is just business speak. Because they're basically saying like, oh yeah, it's we bought out this company and it's got it's got crossover in different positions with the overarching company, but it's also like, what about the developers that are just like on the ground level? Like, I don't know.
I could go on a depressing, angry tirade about this.
Mm-hmm.
Which I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try and sum it up.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the games industry is kind of a pure distillation of a group of people working at the bottom on something they're incredibly passionate about and having that exploited by people who absolutely don't give a shit about anything other than profit.
Yeah. And eventually that's what it boils down to. But the weird thing about this is that, like, particularly in the last couple of weeks, because, like, 2 weeks ago, everybody was saying exactly this about Microsoft. But now everybody's kind of like, oh, post E3, not E3 hype, right? They had a really good showing at their Summer Game Fest thing because they had, Indiana Jones and Perfect Dark and Fable. And it's like, oh, there's so many good games coming to Xbox. And on one hand, I'm hyped for all of those, and I think they're going to be great. I don't know about Fable. I'm like, it looks good, but I'm not like sold on it. But Perfect Dark looks really neat and unique. And I love Indiana Jones just in general. And like the trailer shows a lot of Nazi punching, and you can't be mad at that. So
I mean, if you're mad at that, you really gotta ask yourself.
right. But again, it's like, okay, so they've got all this great stuff, but does that make it okay to forgive them for what they've literally done like 5 minutes ago? It's like if somebody kicks you in the balls and then like gives you $50, is it okay that they kicked you in the balls?
No, and in this case, it's what they're doing is they're like, oh, this is business as usual.
That was an empty bottle,
Always business as usual.
right?
It doesn't matter who's harmed by it because as long as they can get away with it, they will do it. And as as consumers, a lot of us simply don't pay attention very long. Or we
Yeah.
say, okay, well that's bad, but look at the cool new thing. It's not even there's no evil or like involved here. It's just
Mm-hmm.
Well, I would say there's no evil involved on the consumer side necessarily. There might be some evil involved on the ruining someone's livelihood side.
Right.
Uh, what I have been noticing lately, and you can tell me if I'm getting too off topic, is game companies and companies that are adjacent to game companies are starting to make some, frankly, very stupid decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because we haven't had a podcast for 2 years, I can now talk about the what was it, the Wizards of the Coast debacle, where they were trying to get rid of the open game license,
Yeah.
and how badly that backfired on them. And then, just not a few months later, the Unity games, the Unity engine, tried to do something very similar, as if they learned no lessons at all from what another company had just gone through.
Yeah. It's just a weird state of just industry, and it really just speaks to just the way that kind of corporations work. And it's one of those things that you kind of got to remember that they're not your friend, even if they make cool shit that you want to buy. Because it's like I've been like struggling with wanting to, I mean, I'm playing literally this game right now on Game Pass. um but it's like at some point, like, is it, it's like I don't want to give them my money because they're you know being kind of fucked up asshats, but I also want to give them my money because they have cool video games. So it's a weird place where I think a lot of us are kind of in right now. And I think the kind of flip flop on the public perception of Xbox is partially just like, you know um, people want to help them. They want to have it justified in some way that they're gonna spend their money. And I feel like in a lot of cases most people are gonna spend their money on what they're gonna spend, regardless of the corporation. There's a billion people that hate J.K. Rowling but are still gonna watch every Harry Potter movie, right? Just as an example, people hate the corporate overlords at Chick-fil-A, but they're gonna still go buy the chicken sandwich because it's cheap and drive through. If it's there, that's what. And it's like, I feel like we could get into a lot of the morality of that, but it's like, is there really, it's,
What's your cutoff point?
yeah. And I feel like everybody
You
has,
ask yourself.
yeah, and I feel like everybody has some kind of cutoff point, but it's, at the end of the day, for me, it's most of the time just like, as a consumer, if they're giving me something that I feel is fair for my money, then that's what I'll do. Because there's just shitloads of games on Game Pass, and it's not very expensive. Like, I could have bought this game, and sorry, my trigger fucks up sometimes. I could have bought this game, when it came out for $60. Even used, or I guess not used, but like, because it's an old game, I bet this game's probably, you know, $20 or $30 most of the time. But you know, on top of Senua's Saga and Hi-Fi Rush I played when it was on Game Pass. I'm gonna play Fable on Game Pass. I had just downloaded the new Star Wars game the other day because it's on Game Pass. It's like I could have bought all these for $60, or I could play $120 a year. It's the price of two games. So it's like, as a consumer, I feel like there's still a fairly consumer forward company, but also like it's hard to wonder if they're a consumer forward company if they're laying off the people that are directly responsible for the product that they're selling.
Though I think the answer to that is you have to, if you care about the morality of what a corporation is doing, you basically have to decide on a case by case basis of, is it worth it
Yeah.
And I think that the point for that has to be different for everyone. There are some companies I'm like, oh, they're kind of shitty, but I'm
Yeah.
still gonna give them their money, my money, because you have to like eat food. You have to. There are things that are relatively essential in this
Yeah.
life we have to live. Um, but for some companies, you're just like, this is for some individuals in certain cases. There are some times where you have to go, no, this is so depraved and evil, I cannot justify giving them my money.
Yeah.
And where that point is going to be different for pretty much every single person.
Yeah.
And this isn't to be like, oh, it's all up in the air, So there's clearly bad, and then there's worse. But
Yeah. But it's one of those things because like in the case versus Microsoft, like we're complaining because they're a corporation that is doing stuff to make money, and like that's what every company does, right? Even like a small town, some dude running a food truck is just trying to make a buck so that he can. I'm going to take these two grenades out of the trash can. What the fuck?
honestly, I would rather buy from the dude running a food truck
I
because
mean, I would, yeah, just in general. But it's also like, you know, it's just comparing them to other corporations like Chick-fil-A. Obviously, that's a moral thing. That's something that like I very much understand. If you're just like, no, I will never go to Chick-fil-A because of the way that they're kind of
it's like one of
they're
those things
they're
like
taking a stance
I'm
against
not gonna give
particular
this.
people rather than
It's
taking a stance in the name of money. So
yeah,
it's like it's
it's
also not
it's
that
not
either
just the
one is.
stupid greed, it's also the other shit on top of it.
Yeah.
It's the, oh, you want to make the lives of people I care about worse.
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna give you money.
Yeah. Boing. Can I jump up here? I should be able to. So yeah, it's one of those weird things where it's like it's still kind of a moral conversation because them kind of saying their money is more important than the money of the workers because they're putting like a
Sorry,
bunch of people out of a
to
job when.
interrupt you.
Yeah, go ahead.
We are getting told that I'm actually pretty quiet on stream.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, take it
Chris
on.
is too quiet. Thanks, buddy. Let me get the here. Oh no, it's gonna poof for a moment again. So thank you for letting us know. So I will turn desktop audio just a bit up. Try that. And then hopefully that shouldn't be too loud because I turned down my volume on the game pretty low anyway, just so we can.
Have a conversation.
Yeah, that'll help.
Okay. How's that?
Let us know if it's still too loud. Hey, wrong on the internet is in the chat. Oh wait, that's Chris,
It's my evil alter ego.
right? Concord. Is this like Concord, Massachusetts?
I'm pretty sure that's kind of where this game takes place, right?
Might be. I don't know. They said Concord, but
Yeah.
they haven't said a state. I see the ocean over there. It looks like so. I guess I'm probably on the East Coast
I
somewhere.
know, like,
Would make
yeah,
sense.
I'm pretty sure this is like northeast.
Yeah.
So the northeastern seaboard is where Fallout 4 takes place.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm sorry. Before I interrupted you, did you want to continue your point?
Um. I don't know. So I guess my point was just that like it's a moral conversation whether we want to make a moral conversation out of it or not. Because it's
Yeah.
like money is like differently moral, a different kind of morality than you could call it quantum. Ooh, it sounds like
And
it'll give me a boner when I
someone
drink it or
trying
something.
to make other people into second-class citizens.
Yeah, basically.
I'm not gonna mince words about that.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna disagree. Hey, look, I discovered Concord. Maybe it's Concord
like-
grapes. Maybe I'm inside of a giant grape. You ever think about that? I didn't, because that's stupid. uh,
All right.
Open up.
Well, so every corporation is at least a little bit evil for the most part.
Yeah.
It's a question of not just degree, but also the kind of evil they are. A corporation that just, they do things because they want more money, that's what they're incentivized to do. You would expect nothing less of a corporation.
Yeah.
And I think it's perfectly reasonable to be like, I'm not going to give them my money because they went too far.
Yeah.
But you can argue it is different qualitatively.
Yeah. Just one point on that is that a lot of people like to compare like Microsoft or whatever to Nintendo, or like Sony had a bunch of layoffs earlier this year as well, and they'll say, oh yeah, Nintendo didn't lay off a bunch of people even when they were struggling, because famously through the launch of the 3DS, Nintendo was losing a whole bunch of money. And basically, Satoru Iwata was the president of the company at the time, and he took a big pay cut so that they didn't have to fire anybody. And people will always reference that a lot. And I think that's an interesting thing to reference, because basically the difference there is not that Nintendo is a better corporation or a nicer corporation or a more caring corporation. The thing is, Nintendo is based out of Japan, where they have laws that say he fucking has to. That's just, he cannot lay off people because of the way that the Japanese laws work, unless there's very specific situations, like if they're very obviously derelicting their job, things like that, then he could fire them. But like if it's just the company reported less income, they can't just lay people off. They if there's extra revenue, unless there's like not extra revenue and he was like making ground level employee money, then maybe he could. But and that's, so I think that's one of those things that you just kind of got to remember, is that even Nintendo isn't your friend, right? Nintendo is also just out there to make money, and they do so in a different way. But this is a problem with the video game industry at large. It's not just Microsoft. Even they're the guys that we're pointing out right now because they fucked up pretty hard. And it's just weird that now everybody forgave them, but
it's. I think there's a growing awareness of just how much corporate scumfuckery goes on everywhere.
Yeah.
With Nintendo specifically, I know that I don't think they're fully privately held, but I know they're more private. And they tend to handle things in a different way as a result of that. I also know they're incredibly vicious when it comes to intellectual property stuff.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose between that and being like, I'm laying off all these employees even though they did their jobs perfectly well and worked all these extra hours and we underpaid them compared to what they could outside of the video game sphere, it's no question which is the lesser of two evils.
Right.
It's like,
oh, that dude's got lasers or some shit. Raider. Oh wait, there's a guy. Can I talk to you?
It's worth remembering.
He's probably going to try and kill me if I don't kill him immediately right now, right?
He is a raider. Oh, I mean, you could like turn around and give him eyesight at you, and then he'll attack you probably.
Ooh,
he is red.
Jones.
He's red on the thing.
I took his clothes. It's actually a chick. She's naked now. Cool, cute. Can I use that as a weapon? Because I would like a melee weapon. Yes. Boom. So, let's see. How do I forget how to favorite stuff? Because I would like to be able to. see here.
Grenades.
Drop, inspect, perk chart.
Is this your,
What the fuck? What is all this?
Is this your first time really being exposed to Fallout 4?
Yeah, I was interested in it when it came out, but I didn't have a PlayStation 4 because it originally was on PS4. I, of course, got one eventually later, but I just, too many games, never got back to it. So, yeah, anyways, let's see here. What was I doing? Anyways, I got a pool cue now.
I think it's also worth noting a lot of companies, a lot of the decisions you see companies make, they come from whoever's heading the company at the time, the CEO or the board of directors, in addition to whatever the pressures are, depending on whether or not they're publicly traded. Like the Unity fiasco, which I'm just gonna go on as if we all know what that is. That was caused by someone who was previously the CEO
that guy's
of EA Games. This was the same guy who wanted to charge $1 every time you reloaded in a first-person shooter.
Right.
So this is like not just someone who's incredibly greedy, but someone who's greedy to the point of self-destruction. Whereas you look at other corporations like, say, Valve.
Oh wait, that guy's not trying to kill me.
And that company doesn't seem interested in fucking over at least its customers at all.
Yeah.
Because they know they have a good thing going, and the ways they monetize are made to not generate a lot of excess hatred. And I'm certain that if you made that company publicly traded, or if Gabe Newell left the company, you would see some changes.
Yeah.
And they would not be good.
I missed both times. Good old manual aiming is better anyways, apparently. There's somebody down here.
But that system's not as good as it used to be.
I don't know. I didn't have great chances on either of those. I guess because he's in cover, I think. And he's way up there. But... Yowie, yowie. Oh, there's a guy up there, too. But yeah, that's an interesting one to take up with Valve. Use a stim pack. Oh, too late. It told me to use a stim pack.
Kind of gets a lot of, like, of its defenders and oops. You, sir, are a corpse.
Yeah, Valve is an interesting one because it's respected so highly by its fans, especially for Steam. Like, I remember fairly recently they announced that the Kingdom Hearts games were coming to Steam, and everybody said, finally, Kingdom Hearts is available on PC. We wanted it on PC forever. Meanwhile, it was available on PC for like 2 years beforehand, just only on the Epic Game Store.
Yeah.
So it's like that's the kind of reputation that they have, and it's interesting though because they also don't make their own games most of the time anymore. They made like one game in the last like 5 years because they made that VR whatever it was. What's the word?
Half-Life Alyx.
Half-Life, yeah.
Yeah.
And like I don't remember the last game they made before that.
I think it was Artifact, and it was a massive flop.
Yeah. So it's like, it's interesting to look at. They're basically a store, right?
Yeah.
That, they make games sometimes, but they're pretty much just a store. Is this a bunch of mannequins or like really? Oh yeah, okay. It's like a museum.
Yeah.
I get it. Bonk.
You can always put a hole in one just to make sure.
Right. Excuse me, sir. Are you? His eyes are already shot out. That's fucking creepy.
Someone was having fun with the target practice there.
Oh. Yep.
Give him a third eye.
Or I gave him a nose like the Wraith dude in Fallout. in the movie, in the series.
What's the matter, Smooth Chin?
keep hearing these voices, but it's just like ambiance from the museum. It's like I'm like, oh, there's more dudes. Oh no, it's just a museum. That's kind of a
funny,
neat little
because
touch that they added in here,
I'm also hearing voices, but they're my neighbors. So,
telling you shut the fuck up, you stupid.
oh, I'm sure. I'm sure they'd talk to me more directly than that.
Right. Shotgun shells. I don't have a shotgun yet that I know of. Did I pick up a shotgun? Because if I did, I'm going to use it. Inventory.
I've had this game sitting in my Steam library forever, and I still haven't played it.
Which, Fallout 4? Or
Yeah, Fallout 4.
that was kind of my problem after I got Game Pass. Like, it was... or, I guess, 2 years ago after they bought Bethesda or whatever. Well, I guess it only went through last year. That was a whole confusing thing. There's a lot of things that we haven't... Anyways, I was like, it's been on Game Pass for a while, and I have downloaded it multiple times, and then said, I'm going to play this, and then something else came out, and I didn't.
That seems to be just the story of how things work, right?
Yeah, basically.
It's, if I could go through all the games that I just haven't had time to get down to and play.
Okay, wait, I can level up.
Pretty sure
Yeah,
I have more
level
games in my Steam library I haven't played than games I have played.
Right, at least I've played most of the games in my... Actually, I don't think I... Yeah, I've played all the games in my Steam library. I don't have a huge Steam library, but the last game I bought on Steam, actually, I bought Baldur's Gate 3, which I played on this thing. I guess I could have talked about that a little bit, because we haven't talked about that much. So I got a ROG Ally, which it's not a Steam Deck. It's
like a
more or less the same thing, but it works on Windows, which is convenient for me, Xbox fanboy, because I can just download games from Game Pass. So. Okay, so I'm leveling up one of my actual abilities here. Okay.
Yeah. Now, if I remember...
This is a weird kind of... Because it's like... It's a menu, but it's also not a menu, so it's... it confused me to look at it for a minute, because it's...
So I remember in the older Fallouts, if you had 3 points or fewer of intelligence, your conversation tree would be completely different. You were basically a moron, and people would talk to you. They would talk to you like you were someone not worth their time.
That's interesting. I'm gonna keep it 3 for now, and yeah.
I think
see
that's
where it goes.
different in this game because I know the whole conversation system's different.
Right. Yeah.
Fallout 4.
Yeah. I'll go with endurance. All right. Next read.
Oh, and to name like a recent example, like I think it was either this month or last month, the Sony Helldivers 2 debacle.
Yeah.
If you remember that.
Yeah, I do. Which was interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't pay attention a lot to it because I wasn't super into... Because it looked like a neat game, but it also looked like the kind of game that you almost have to play like multiplayer. So I just didn't get around to it.
It's one of those live service games, and I'm kind of like, alright, I don't have the time for those.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part. Or I don't want to be the person who's like, oh, I bought this game, let's spend a bunch of money on cosmetics for this. Oops, time to move on to the next one.
Right.
But from what I was hearing, everyone was loving it.
Yeah.
And then Sony, who's the publisher of the game, decided that it was time to require PlayStation Network accounts for when they had previously said that they would not require those to play the game. Which, foreseeably, I feel like they could have talked to their lawyers or some PR people about that, because it predictably caused a pretty nasty reaction. My understanding is they were in violation of some European consumer protection laws for doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people that were in countries where PlayStation Network accounts are not available would have been locked out of a game they'd already paid money for. So they backtracked on that. I want to say within 2 days. It was pretty quick, but it's still one of those decisions you see them make, and you think, well, why did they? That doesn't make any kind of sense. Why would you do that?
It won't shoot. I want my gun to shoot. Oh, I gotta reload. I only get 2 shots? Oh, I only get 1 shot. Health is low. Ah.
It's a crank gun. Ooh.
I gotta reload it every time.
Yes, I love drinking a radiated soda.
Ain't it the
In
best?
case you're wondering why my webcam is so staticky, it's just because I'm emitting radiation.
Laser. Sweet shotgun. That'll be much better.
Kind of on brand for this stream.
Right? Alright. Tom says you're a little better now, so that should hopefully last.
Hopefully. Yeah.
Valve left command console cheats.
I am trying to project here.
Tom says, did you guys see that Valve left command console cheats in competitive play for Counter-Strike 2?
What? No.
I did not. I have not thought about Counter-Strike in a long time, actually.
I mean, that seems more like some... They pushed it live and some developer just left it in. That just seems like a stupid oversight to me, more than anything else.
Right, certainly could be.
I have sympathy for a developer who leaves something like that in, because I feel like everyone at least does that something like that once if you're a developer.
Right. All right. Well, have we said mostly all we wanted to about the about that whole kind of thing?
Yeah, I think that was I think we got to where we wanted to go with that. I think we're pretty much on the same page on that too.
Yeah, because it's like it's something to bring attention to, something to consider, like as a consumer, like where you're putting your money, and you know, is
yeah, it's we live in a world where, you know,
it's very confusing of where you should put your money.
You're always going to be learning new things about anywhere you buy from.
Yeah.
Or anyone you buy from.
That's true.
And a lot of those things are not going to be good. And it's just, you know, if you can, if it makes sense, pick and choose your battles. If you're struggling to pay rent, you know, you're not... It's hard to judge any action, even if you're buying from the worst company in the world.
Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people that can't pay their rent pay Walmart for food or whatever.
Yeah, it's
like, what you gonna do?
Walmart
you know?
sucks, but you have to eat.
Yeah, or Kroger or wherever you might happen to go. Because
like none of these companies are good, but you still have to eat. We all have to. It's required. It's a required thing.
Yeah. Not everybody has access to a small town grocer, and a small town grocer is often more expensive because they're not a giant corporation and they haven't figured out how to, do that sustainably for themselves, because they gotta make a buck too. So it's a weird hard point. All right, I didn't have a table topic. I had some vague ideas in the bottom of the document that we could use for future topics at some point, or you could just pull one out of your ass.
I mean, I could start a ramble and then we could get to a topic that way.
Yeah, let's do that. Sound? Yeah, ramble on.
So
that's a Led Zeppelin
song.
It's
at the
great.
Point of having wrapped up 2 long-term campaigns at this point, both in different systems, heavily D&D related, but different systems.
Neat.
And I'm kind of reflecting on how much has changed in just the short 5-year span it took to wrap up the campaign. I recently wrapped up just a few months ago. It's like a lot of the people are different. A lot of it's where we've traveled is different. There's been a lot of life events, and I've had to make several changes to the system myself. And I'm thinking, what does it take to see a long-form campaign through to completion with adults who often, you know, have lives and have to move on.
Apparently running at that man after he lit me on fire was not the best idea. But that was what seemed like a good idea at the time.
I would have done the same thing.
Yeah, I was just like, well, he found me. Oh, shit. Do I still have that shotgun? I don't know where the last... I have to go kill some guy and steal his shotgun again.
I know for you and I personally, we mostly stayed in the same area.
Yeah.
But I know that we've also had a lot of friends get busy with life or move away or just have other things come up that make the people who started in a game not around for the end of it.
Yeah, like, because I've even, like, tried to pick up campaigns with people that have moved out of state or different things, and you've been parts of those games sometimes. This is confusing. What the fuck? How am I supposed to pick a password out of these billion things? Clump.
So it'll tell you the number of letters you got right. So you pick one, and then you have a certain amount of guesses.
Okay, so there's no...
Yeah, so
no
doesn't share anything with
CLUMP.
clump. So I would say try opens.
Well, that still has a P. Right, so... if it's...
I guess, yeah, that does have a P, that's correct.
Scant.
So if you don't want it to share any letters...
That's one. Occur? Well, it can't have a U. Okay, I see. Beasts.
Oh no.
No, not beasts.
That's worrisome. Well, there's a C in scant.
Yeah. Nope. I'm probably gonna fuck this up.
You think the A is the right thing there? No.
Maybe.
So I know in the older entries in the series, if you got 3 guesses wrong, you could exit out of the terminal and start it up again, and you'd get 4 guesses back for a different password match system. I don't know if they changed it for Fallout 4.
These look like different... Yeah, apparently that's how that works. Okay, so...
Yeah, okay, so... Because it'll lock you out after you miss that 4th guess.
Yeah.
Midst. That's a good word, midst. I like that.
Yeah. It'll probably be the Wordle tomorrow, just to fuck with you. So, let's see. Midst. Sadly. Maybe. Again. Let's see. 1. So, likeness 1. So, it could be the S from midst and sadly. Or it could be the D. Or it could be something from... Well, let's see.
Was there a D in any other word?
Unless it's like the M and the Y or something.
I guess there's lodge.
This is an interesting, but like, I feel like this is the kind of puzzle that I'm going to think about way too much and overthink so that I don't. So let's see, lodge.
Yeah. So I'd give lodge a try.
Because it could be the D. Likeness 1.
Yeah. Because if it is the D, then I think that's the only other one I see here with a D in it.
Yeah.
No. Okay. Nope. It's the S. So I'd exit out and then. So the nice thing about this puzzle is that you can just, you can just kind of spam it.
Yeah. Get a new puzzle until you get something that's like a little easier.
Yeah. You can always just get
Tomes. likeness 2. Okay. Today, likeness 0. So it's not T or O, because those are shared between there. So 2 out of 3, M, E, or S. Sides has ES, so that could be likeness 2. So it could be ES.
Yes. Sides.
Hates, or hates.
There we go.
Hates. Okay. Yay, I'm amazing.
Oh.
I don't even know what security gate I was trying to open.
Well, you got it open, so you can...
Right? I didn't even see this the first time through before I died, so...
I'm telling you, man. Let's just
You look behind you?
out of here. We got no reason to hang around and get shot.
I think it's
Why
the
is
one
it-
at the bottom
Ah!
of the stairs there.
I had to reload it again.
Ow. So it is just a wind-up gun.
That's kind of hilarious. Oh, I can put more in there. Oh.
Reminds me of the wind-up gun from Enter the Gungeon. Except that one would always
What?
play Pop Goes the Weasel.
Right? How many can I wind in there at once? Just 2. Okay.
Okay. That kind of sucks.
Yeah. Now heal. I wonder if that was the guy with a shotgun. It was.
It's an interesting gun design. I can't imagine... It's like a proper, like, 1950s sci-fi gun design, but I can't imagine someone actually using it in a lifelike combat situation, because 2 shots?
Right?
Really? Yeah, I know that with your campaigns, Sean,
Mm-hmm.
we've had some that have gone on for probably more than 8 years at this point.
Yeah. Probably. I mean,
know
I'm
that-
certain the first time we started my Pirates group was in high school. So that's more
that
than
was-
15 years ago. And technically that one's never ended, although we've rebooted it several times between different groups.
between different groups.
Yeah.
Yep. But I mean, even then, that's just a case. Yeah, the composition of the people available to play has changed so much over time. And I know that if it was a more dedicated thing, where we would want the same people in it, it could be like, oh, do it over the internet, get it on a virtual tabletop kind of thing. But even then, people regularly bow out because life gets busy for them, or
Mm-hmm.
they just lose interest, or any number of reasons.
Yeah. I took the
And
pencils.
for something like that, it often makes it, if you're trying to do some kind of long-form plot line that heavily involves the characters, it can make that difficult.
Yeah, that's true. Because in general, I don't know, the way I write campaigns, it's kind of like the players are in the story, and what they do as a group kind of shapes the next chapter of the story, but I still kind of write it like not necessarily utilizing them in like so much of a main character regard as certain DMs might. When I'm writing a campaign, it's kind of like, this is kind of like just what's gonna happen because of what the players did. So it's still like the players have an effect on the world, have an effect on the story. Is this bad guys? No, apparently not.
Man, I don't know who you are, but your timing's impeccable.
But yeah, so that's
Commonwealth Minute.
but it's kind of an interesting thing to then insert a new player into the group, and then they're just like, you know, because I've had problems occasionally, not often, but sometimes players just not being used to that, and then they're like, oh, you know, this session kind of focused on this player, and that's something that I always think is weird when a player says that, because I never as a DM, try to focus on any player. But I feel like sometimes certain players will do more in a certain session. And every now and then I'll like take like if there's a particular thing that I think will be neat, or like if I've baked into like sometimes in some of my campaigns I'm like I'll bake in like if each player has to have like a perk or a disadvantage or something, and sometimes I'll take from there when I'm writing just as a plot hook, and it won't be much more than that. Like that time that you had a I think your character, what I don't remember what. I think that was in one of the reboots of my pirate campaign, and
I think I was playing Earl for any of the for pretty much every reboot.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. So you must have been Earl, but one time you played with a disadvantage that like wherever you go, somebody in that town hated you or something. And so the whole party got arrested because I was just like, oh, you remember that time back in college you pissed in the King's Cheerios? And the whole party got arrested.
Fuck that guy. I think some players,
Minutemen?
they either naturally tend to take up more of the attention spotlight
So I joined up.
because they
wanted to
tend
make a
to
difference.
demand more of the DM's attention, or they just vibe. They vibe better
Now it looks
with
like I'm
like
the last Minuteman left standing.
what's going on. They tend to naturally just take
Yeah.
charge of the situation.
In some
and vibe.
cases, I've had players that are just kind of like that, and I've had like because I had a one player call out another player one time of like, oh, this is all about and they called it out to me because they called out me as like favoring that player, and I thought that was weird. But I was the way I had kind of took a step back and I was like, okay, what happened through that session? And I guess that player did more things, but that was partially because partway through the big encounter at the end, your character got knocked unconscious like on the second turn or something, so you couldn't do anything. And the other player was a buddy of ours that kind of was he's a little bit of a take charge kind of a player, so he took charge and he knows the game pretty well, so he was always coming up with an idea that he could utilize very well because he knew the system fairly well. And so this relatively new player kind of interpreted that differently, and that's kind of a thing that I feel like can happen, but it's
Yeah, and it's never fun to also be relatively newer and then like feel like you don't get to do anything because you got knocked out in a combat, and the combat's in I assume this was 3.5 take a lot longer to resolve.
That's true.
It just sucks. I've had that happen to me plenty of times, and I fully empathize.
Right.
But
yeah. Anyways, today's beer of the week is from Upslope Brewing Company. This is Mary Jane. Mary Jane Ale,
Nice.
which I believe is actually made with cannabis. I'm not 100% sure. I've had a few beers that are made with cannabis, and so far none of them have been good. I've also had several beers from Upslope Brewing Company, and so far none of them have been good. So I expect nothing from this.
You're giving them a lot of spare chances here.
Yeah, because Upslope is like their beers generally, from what I've had, have ranged from bad to meh. They're just not a very good brewery in my opinion. Which I don't know. They sell well enough that I guess I am not. That's another thing that they're a corporation and they're just trying to make a buck, I guess. But they do not appeal to me most of the time. But let's see if they can change this. So, cheers and such.
Weed beer just sounds like a bad idea to me.
Yeah.
Like it sounds like it sounds like you're mixing both of them and you're ruining them both.
From what I've had, most cannabis beers that I've had just taste like cannabis, and they're just like I don't like the taste of cannabis. Right?
It's not a good flavor.
It's not. It's not something that I would put in food or beer. It doesn't taste good. It's not appetizing to me. This doesn't actually taste like cannabis at all.
It's not a good flavor. It's
Right?
It's a flavor you want to disguise. It's not one you want to embrace.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if it is or not. I guess it doesn't actually taste like weed at all. It's kind of like a light IPA, kind of flavor wise. It's not
I
bad.
mean, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Floral.
yeah, a little bit. Kind of fruity, not overly flavored in any way. It's a simple. This is actually a pretty drinkable, like, is a good lawnmower beer, is what I like to call them. You know, you could just drink this on a hot day and it'd be fine. Which is actually on the upward end of beers I've had from Upslope Brewing Company. So nothing remarkable. I wouldn't go out of my way for it, but I'm not offended that I'm drinking it.
Yeah, better than average for Upslope and better than average for cannabis beers, you'd say.
Please, go on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think there is any cannabis in here. I think they just named it Mary Jane. I don't know. I had thought that there was cannabis. I don't. Let's see, 6 ski legendary Mary Jane territory at Winter Park Resort, known for trees. Yeah, I guess it doesn't say. I wonder if it says ingredients. I don't know. Probably does on the box or whatever. I got this in a mix pack because it was just like one of those pick 6 kind of things. So I just picked 6, and this was one of them, and it's fine.
Sorry. Sounds rough.
I didn't listen to whatever that guy said.
Good to know.
He
Rest
said
in
something
gravy.
about how many people they had left,
Anyway,
how it dwindled
we
down.
figured
I actually read
Contact
the
would be a safe
subtitles
place to
here. So.
settle.
Oh, nice.
Those raiders proved us wrong. But, well, we do have one idea.
I also know this guy is a major NPC just because of there's so many memes of him.
Oh yeah.
Let's hear it.
Sturgis,
So,
tell him.
There's a crashed vertibird up on the roof. Old school.
yeah, well, it was like,
Pre-war.
yeah, as a
Not
new
cheap.
player, I feel like
Well,
as a
it's like one of its passengers
DM,
left behind a seriously sweet goodie.
I'm of
We're
two
talking a
minds in
full
terms
suit
of.
cherry T45 power
And
armor.
we're varying the
There it
topic
is.
here, but we didn't really have a solid one to begin with.
Right.
I'm of two minds in terms of how players
some serious
engage with
protection.
things. One
Oh,
is
it
you
gets
never
better.
want players to be like,
Get
oh,
the
they
suit.
go to a session
You
and
can
they
rip
get
the
out and they're like,
minigun right
oh,
off the
I
vertibird.
really didn't enjoy
You do
that. It
that.
sucked. I
Those
felt like I
raiders
didn't do
get an
anything. Or I
express
felt like I
ticket
just
to
got
hell.
screwed over.
You dig?
Mhm.
Like that's no fun,
Minigun.
especially when it's like
Now
through
it's
no fault of their
I
own.
know, right?
Yeah.
But on the other
Only
hand,
there's one hitch.
to a certain extent,
Suits
I
out
think
of juice.
players in a
Probably been
tabletop
dry for
RPG
100
are
years.
responsible
It can be powered up
for
again,
their actions and kind of
but
creating
we're
their
a
own
bit
fun.
stuck.
Like the GM has to give them something to work with, but the player has to they have to play well enough.
Yeah, it's like, you can. I don't know. I'm trying to relate this to video games somehow, because like, you could kind of suck at RPGs, I guess, but then you could get good.
Yeah.
Or something.
So,
I don't know, because certain game types just have a learning curve, and I think especially tabletops do. Like even especially now, 5th edition D&D is just so fucking popular. It still has a learning curve. It's simpler than other D&D versions have been, but it's still like you got to get over that hump and got to get over that. Because I had of some friends that had played before. But are still kind of new players. They were asking me the other day, like, is it okay to just talk as though I'm my character? And I'm like, yeah, almost unanimously, yes. I was like, that's such a weird question that I never would have considered, because I just, I remember so very little bit about when I was a new player, but I just kind of, I guess, took more naturally to it than a lot of people. Because
Yeah.
it's an interesting thing, because when I started, it was that niche thing for weirdos like me, and now 5th edition has made it a lot more accessible than that, and a lot more like it's for the popular kids too, right? So,
it's like now you
but
have
popular
these-
kids that came from a different background, like they will take to it in a different way than fucking nerds like us did. So
Yeah, it's now you have like these those like Critical
I'll help if I
Role
can.
or Dimension 20 where they
What you'll
have
need is an old
these
pre-war F-16.
basically like all
Standardized fusion core.
actors of one sort or
Your
another
high-grade, long-term nuclear battery used by the military and some companies way
playing
back when.
these very
We know right where to
cleaned
find
up,
But we
like
can't get to the damn
presentable game, and
It's
they
down
are
in the
games.
basement.
They're real games.
Locked behind a
Like
security
I've
Look,
been watching a lot of
I fix
Dimension
stuff.
20
I think
recently.
bypassing security
And
ain't exactly
I'm like,
my forte.
yeah, this is a good
give it a
DM.
shot.
These are good players. These people are like, and they're actually making decisions that matter. That this looks like an actual D&D game, but it is also first and foremost a form of entertainment for us.
Yeah.
And it doesn't necessarily resemble a lot of what kind of like the slutter and like talking over each other and
Right, yeah, because it's
like,
an edited progress
Yes.
product. You know, it's like, you know, it because like one thing that I always kind of I know a lot of other podcasters will go to the lengths of editing their conversations to, you know, they'll even just to clutter out dead time, or they'll, you know, take out like moments where they stumble, like I just said I think 3 times. You know, they'll fix it up so it's a little easier to listen to. And one of the reasons that I didn't do that is because I'm a lazy fuck. And but the primary reason that I didn't do that is because actually I like just having the sound of a conversation naturally, having an unedited kind of a just a raw, like, this is what we're talking about. And that's why I also especially would never have done that to any of our live play that we've done on the podcast here, is just because, you know, you get a little bit of that, like, oh, hold on, can I do this? And, you know, that's part of the game, you know, is asking about the rules, is learning how that kind of thing works. But also to go back to like Critical Role and that kind of thing, I think I just would love to give a really good shout out to the Legends of Vox Machina, the TV series, because I haven't listened to any of the podcasts or anything like that, so I didn't really know what to expect going in. But just based on the shenanigans, like, and it's kind of the blend of shenanigans and serious moments, I could tell that this was based off of a real D&D game that real people played. And it's such a neat thing that I could tell just from the way that, because there's no way that one guy could write that, right? And that's what's great about D&D and tabletops in general, is you're kind of coming together as a community to write something, right? It's a community writing project, sort of, in a weird way. It's just, you know, it's also a little more creative, but it's without the collaborative effort, it would not be the same. You know, you could write what sounds like funny D&D related shit, but it wouldn't be the same as having actual literal different people like play those characters. And plus the best part was that they actually got the voice actors to voice their own characters, and that was just like extra icing on the cake. I thought that was so fun.
That fucking sells it for me. No, I don't necessarily agree with the community writing aspect, but I agree that it's like a soup that everyone has to bring something to.
Yeah, I guess it's not necessarily a writing project, but that was
yeah. The players aren't there to be entertained. Everyone's there to kind of add something to it.
Yeah,
and not everyone's like necessarily like an actor. Like they're like another reason I'd say we wouldn't upload our games is a lot of our players would be like, I'm strong Evan, and some players would get real deep into character and like do this whole monologue or like dialogue with a character in character, and then you turn to that player and they'd be like, strong Evan, he wants to the hardest liquor there, and he's going to sit in the corner and drink.
What are you going to do in that
And
stupid jumpsuit? Hunt to death?
he adds and a player like that's gonna add a different vibe at the table, one that necessarily might be positive, but probably isn't gonna be that entertaining to watch or like listen to if you're just an observer.
Yeah. It's an interesting kind of thing that I just thought of, is that like everybody at the table has to be a little bit of an observer at some points, but also willing to participate. And again, like it's very communal, just in general. It's and that's what makes it like great.
Yeah.
I like any kind of thing that's just like that. That's just like you can't really do this alone, you know, because I feel like that's just a little bit of how my worldview kind of works. Is that we're all there just to be there for each other at the end of the day.
We are human beings. We are the reason, one big reason we're as successful as we are as a species is because we work together and we all bring something to the table. And not, it's like, you know, not everyone has to. You got power. Sorry, I'm all distracted now.
Right?
So a game of D&D, everyone ends up contributing. Everyone needs to contribute something to it, but it needs to be a case where one player is not always in the spotlight or always hogging all the attention or doing a thing. Everyone,
Right.
It's like you have to know when you need to add something, and you have to know when to let other people shine.
Yeah. That's a hard thing for me as a DM, is I kind of just let the players just kind of figure that out for themselves, because I try not to focus on any player. Like I said, it's just like... But
I will say that's absolutely one of my biggest struggles as a DM as well. Is not guiding that more.
yeah. Got the fusion core. Now I can put it in the power armor.
I think you can just open that up. Yeah, I think this was the door you unlocked earlier.
Oh wait, which one?
The one
There?
So I'm like 15 seconds behind you watching your YouTube stream here. So I'm commenting on things that you've already done and confusing the hell out of you.
Oh yeah. I don't know where I'm going.
Oh.
I was on the roof and there was power armor.
If I only had a bobby pin.
I don't have any bobby pins. I can't unlock that gate. Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure what I unlocked. Either way, I think I killed all the bad guys, so now I can just run around, because apparently the good guys are here. You can tell they're good guys because they don't shoot you for no fucking reason.
That usually makes good guys in a post-apocalyptic wasteland, is they don't shoot you on sight.
Yep, that's the difference. There's two kind of people in this world.
Those who shoot you on sight and everyone else.
Those who shoot you on sight and those that you shoot on sight. Wait.
Let's see. It is nice to watch, having avoided these kind of popular D&D shows for so long, it is kind of nice to watch them and be like, oh, they are actually playing a real game of D&D. But then all the players are either voice actors, I think in the case Critical Role, or they're comedians in the case of Dimension 20. So it's just a lot of fun to watch them, because
Right.
that's all kind of like their archetype.
Yeah, because they're already kind of entertainers by trade. So it works out that they're... Well, I could go out that way too, I guess. But this way I can go get that power armor. Then I can steal a minigun, apparently. I wasn't listening to most of the mission, but all I got was power armor, minigun.
I mean, do you really need anything else?
6-pack of beer.
6-pack of beer, a power armor, and a minigun?
Mm-hmm.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Don't get mauled by a Yaogoi.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see.
Bonk.
Well, maybe, I don't know if you've been running any games, recently.
Not much. I just made one that I'm gonna start running with my buddies here pretty soon. but I haven't actually managed to run it. I sent you the notes for it the other day because it's just a kind of an easy, fairly linear, like there's some bad guys doing some bad shit. I don't even remember most of it, which is also one of my favorite things about writing as a DM is that I write this shit and then I don't get around to actually DMing it for just long enough to where most of it is out of my brain, and then I read my own writing and I'm like, I'm dumb. That's funny.
It is always entertaining to read game-related documents that you wrote because it is always so very clear. No one else could have written this. It could only have been you.
Right?
Let's see. I've happened to been started running a midweek game for some people I met on the internet. And that's been very interesting to me because I've never ran for a group that was quite as character focused before.
Mm-hmm.
Mostly I was either running for our group, like very occasionally, where there's like a vast difference in what players were wanting out of the game, or I was running for my Sunday group, which tends to be a lot more focused on the game aspect of D&D. So it's been interesting to kind of adjust my style for this one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the cars explode.
I think I'm out of bullets, so I'm just gonna hit people with this minigun.
Level up.
Ah! Yes, very good. There's a guy. There's a bad guy. It's bad stuff. There's. I will need my gun
that's
to
a
deal
death
with
claw.
this. Yes, that is bad stuff. So.
Oh boy.
Put this here. This was a bad plan.
I'm glad that it seems like it's actually tough in this game.
Yeah, apparently, because it took like all my. I didn't have any. Maybe I should have saved more minigun bullets for that thing.
Yeah, it's like
Because I killed all the
yeah.
raiders, and then I was out of bullets, and then yeah. Okay, am I in the
it
power
was
armor?
Fallout
Yeah.
3 where the death claws were a lot weaker than they really should have been. Because
Right.
they had that level scaling, and it was like, oh yeah, one of the most deadly creatures in the wasteland. Yeah, it's I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of ran the gamut on evil topics tonight.
Yeah, a bunch of various things.
Start looking through the future topics here. Gonna stick with the shotgun until the Deathclaw shows back up.
Yeah, probably. So I got plenty of bullets to deal with that.
Yeah.
I also feel like they're bigger in this than they were in New Vegas.
Yeah, New Vegas used the Fallout 3 models, so... I guess, like, the actual monster was tougher in New Vegas, because level scaling wasn't really a thing. But, it still was using the smaller model, and in this they actually wanted to make them a threat, it seems like.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, now I'm thinking on power scaling and tabletop RPGs, and now I'm like, oh yeah, how that tied into the whole combat as sport thing versus the combat as war, where it's like, oh, there is no expectation you'll be able to handle everything you come across.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this thing ain't so bad when you got a buttload of minigun bullets, but it changes the HUD, and I'm not sure where I'm not sure how many bullets I even have. Or where my health bar is. Oh, there's my health. HP %.
Oh, the bullets is on the right side of the...
Oh, yeah, I see it now.
screen.
Ammo.
And
Okay,
then
there we go.
You can reload as well.
Oh, cool. There we go. Nice.
Yeah, you can tell I'm a little ways behind you on the stream here.
Yeah. Figured it out. Alright, are you still bad guys? I just killed that thing that was gonna kill you. You're dumb.
They'll always stab you in the back, you know?
Right? Like a...
Have you been playing any tabletop RPGs recently?
Not really. Like I said, I made that campaign for my buddies, but we just haven't had a chance to play it yet. 'Cause, you know, like, just where I'm at in life, I'm just traveling a bunch and, you know,
Yeah,
busy on every
busy.
weekend, because I'm playing a gig every weekend, so... which is good, because I have money, but also, like, I don't get to do as much.
Yeah, you're a total rock star now.
Yeah. Traveling all around the world. Stealing shotgun shells. Alright, another. Go away. Nothing.
Seen all the sites.
Yeah. I have seen a lot of sights. Do I get to keep this power armor? Because...
yeah, but it requires power cells is what I know.
Oh, okay.
And so they're like, because they want you to use it sparingly.
Right, it's like you go in your Uber mode or whatever.
Yeah, it's not like the power armor of previous games where it was just like, oh, you have the best armor in the game, you just wear that from now on.
That was
Right.
a pretty amazing display. I'm just glad you're on our side.
I was playing myself like a bit of a snarky asshat when I was started the game, so now I'm like, am I gonna keep that up, or what's the snarkiest thing on here to say? I guess I'm on my side.
I'm on my
But also,
side.
I mean, I guess it worked out, because these are good, you know, the only dicks that didn't try to shoot me on sight for no reason.
So you can just say,
Yeah.
everyone okay, or
You never
feeling
have too many
mutual, or
friends.
something like that.
Not in the
I don't know. I
Listen,
really didn't like
When we
this
first met,
change.
you asked about the Minutemen.
Ukulele
Everything you know
Jones.
about us, we help out.
Oh,
our
yeah.
I didn't notice your name before.
So here, for everything
Yeah,
you've done,
I named myself Ukulele Jones, which was hilarious because somehow the robot recognized that I put in the last name Jones, and it calls me Mr. Jones, like your butler
Interesting.
robot. And I was just like, how the fuck? Like, if I had put in, like, some other last name, would it do that?
I
Like,
think they probably have a list of last names that
right?
it would say.
But yeah, I was just like trying to think of some bullshit name, because it was funny too, because when I first made my character in the character creator, I just like made him look like Travis Touchdown, because that's what the kind of like generic model looked like. So I was just like, all right, pop on this pompadour, you know, put a shit in his cheeks a little. All right, I'm Travis Touchdown, but I'm gonna give myself some dumb stupid name at the end. Well, because I was thinking about it, and I was like, am I just gonna name myself Travis Touchdown? But then it like gives you a chance to redo your character aesthetic, and I was just like, oh, I'll look through it real quick again, because then it gives you like a bunch of different presets that it didn't give you the first time, and I was like, okay, that's weird. But I couldn't get back to the one that I had already made, and I was like, man, if I had actually spent any time in this character creator, I might have been pissed that I'd be like, I have to remake that entire guy. That would have been... It's super weird. But anyways, it worked. What did he say? Is he gonna give me money? I'm gonna take it.
I'll take what I can get.
I'll take it.
Spoken like a true mark. Well, if you ever feel like fighting for something other
I
than
didn't read
yourself,
it. I don't know.
should meet
I
up
wasn't
with us
paying
in
attention to
Sanctuary.
this.
I could use someone like you. Someone who can get things done.
All right. Chris, did you bring a thing?
If you're willing to wait for me to go grab a thing.
All right. Yeah.
What would I need to do?
Watchers can watch me
You need to stay
talk to Mama
strong
Murphy.
Like you've been. Because there's more to your destiny. I've seen it. And I know your pain.
She's just high as fuck on rads.
My destiny? What do you mean?
You're a man out of time. Out of hope.
All right.
But all's not
Let me
lost.
know.
I can feel
You can see this
the
right
sun's
here.
energy.
Looks okay. Kind of see
He's
the
alive.
top of it.
Well, it's let me
8-bit
pull my
theater.
fingers
Oh,
off
it's the
this.
8-bit theater book. Sweet.
Yeah. So
That's
this
awesome.
is the script book for 8-bit theater, which is it's fucking enormous.
Where is Sean?
Like,
Oh,
let
I
me
wish I knew,
let me
kid.
show you how
I
thick this
really
thing
do.
is in comparison
But
to my
it's not
hand
like
here.
Right?
I
That's
can
pretty
see
thick.
your
I mean, but
side.
it's like a
I can just
script basically for
feel his
1,000
life
and
force,
or
his
1,100
energy.
webcomics.
He's out there.
1100 or
Even
1200. I
don't
forget the
Something
exact.
like that.
know where you
know,
should start
Yeah.
looking.
But if
But-
you've not read 8-bit theater, the webcomic, it is fucking hilarious, and do yourself a favor. It's absolutely
yeah.
worth it. Just
8-bit theater is it's one of the oldest sprite
That's-
webcomics.
Vague.
mhm.
And it's probably, I feel like it's one of the very few that might stand the test of time.
Yeah, because it's like, if you're not familiar, it's basically loosely based on the story of Final Fantasy 1, but it kind of puts every character into a little bit of like the utmost stereotype of that class. So it's interesting to just kind of see their various interactions between each other, and
We're heading for that place Mama Murphy
it's
knows about.
very well written.
It's not far.
Yeah.
She knows about it.
One of the
You
things
knew
I
she
really
was
like
right.
about the
She
script
was
book
stoned out
is
of her gourd.
he
Now you want us to
provides just
head
an
out on
awful
another
lot of
wild goose chase
commentary
based on no
on
better plan than Mama Murphy's plan.
whatever shit
Oh,
he
hold
feels
on,
like
hold
talking
on.
about. This is Brian
Everybody
Clevenger,
just
by the
take it
way.
easy.
He also did
We're all in this
Atomic
together,
Robo, which is like
right?
his
Marcy.
actual big
Got a
boy
better
comic,
idea of what
Yeah.
we should do next?
which is also really good. But I
I
never
haven't
kept
read
up
a
with
lot
it.
of that, but what I have read is great. He also wrote a novel called Nuclear Age, which I have read, and that is, again, it's just it's very my kind of humor, where it's just like some random shit happening, just whatever he happens to think of at the time. It's very fun, but it's also got a lot of great character moments throughout that book.
Yeah.
Just anything written by him, I think I would recommend. Just generally very good stuff.
And he goes at least into some detail in his writing process, just as like random asides for the script here, which I'm not gonna flip to because I'm only partway through reading this and I don't want to lose my place.
Mhm.
But there's just like a rant about Star Trek and Seinfeld in here, just like in the middle of nowhere.
Don't forget
Right.
the price we paid to get this far.
He does
Let's move out.
explain
I'll take point.
at one point his writing process for the thing was he knew what the ending was going to be and kind of worked backwards for it.
That's an
But
interesting.
also, most of the
Yeah.
things that like all of the stuff that he was writing along the way, obviously he didn't plan
Still can't believe you took
that far in
far out.
advance. He
time
was
I've
just
seen
like,
one of
oh,
these
these
things
are the
up
bits I'm going to hit, and then he had a lot of funny stuff that came up along the way.
Mm-hmm.
So
I
it
think
was
I just stepped on a landmine.
the right mix of planning out like the broad strokes of your plot ahead of time and being willing to just kind of write something funny on the spot that has to do with what you have in mind. And I think that ended up, I feel like it worked really well in the webcomic.
Yeah, I think so. It's interesting because I've never really thought about that, but that is a little bit in common with how I write what I write, whatever I write. especially on longer form kind of stories, I'll kind of, like make some just random dudes just pushing me forward in this 80-ton power armor. But yeah, I'll kind of
Squawking
like
full.
start with a vague idea of like the bullet points of the story, and then I'll just kind of get like, okay, how do I get from point A to B, then B to C, and so forth until I'm like, okay, I'm kind of there.
Yeah.
Which it kind of depends on what I'm writing exactly. I guess I didn't step on a landmine. I just punched my way through with these sandbag barriers here, which I can apparently just step through, and they're worthless now. Haha.
Reading his asides honestly reminds me of reading some of your asides and stuff you've written. And it might be because 8-Bit Theater was such an influence, or it may be that you just have very similar styles.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah, that's interesting, because I haven't really thought about a lot of what he's done for a while, because I was big into 8-Bit Theater, when it was still coming out, because I think I started reading 8-Bit Theater when there was maybe, it was a ways into it, but I read, week to week as he came out.
I definitely was there for the last comic to drop.
Yeah.
Just stay with me. You'll be fine.
I think this is a bit overkill for these little mosquitoes. I think I'll save this again.
Yeah. You don't have unlimited ammo in that minigun there.
I'm less likely to find that than I am shotgun shells, probably. Heal up all I can.
Let me see.
Good old Nuka-Cola.
At least it's not raining.
All right. Well, is there anything else specific we want to talk about then?
I'm kind of I just kind of let the thing peter out.
Yeah, we've been kind of floundering on random bits of table talk.
Can you tell we're out of practice?
Right? It didn't help that I was like, I looked at all the table topics and I was like, this could be neat, this could be neat, this could be neat, and then I didn't actually put anything. But again, that's one of the things I love about this podcast is we just kind of, even if it's me and a guest or you and me and a guest, I let the weird asides happen, and that's what the meat of our podcast ends up being, is just like, oh, by the way, we were talking about this topic. But
now we're just in the weird part of the podcast where we just talk about random shit until someone says something awkward.
right?
I know you played a little bit of RZ.
I did. Actually, I also played that on my Rogue Ally, which was kind of neat, because it worked pretty well with the controller support effectively. It's, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Who would have
pause my
thought
game here.
spiritual successor to the Zelda CDI games would have actually been good, you know?
Right? Yeah, it's weird because it doesn't have any right to be as good as it is, because like the CDI games that it's kind of like taking from are not good, but it what it does is oddly it takes that kind of jank and it makes it its own. Like it knows it's janky in the way that the combat kind of flows. So it's like, because it knows what it is, it makes that jank kind of work in a way. And it's interesting because I wouldn't say it's like a perfect action platformer or anything, but it knows what it is and it owns it so hard because it leans into that just absurd, just stupid humor of the weird art style. You know, the artists go so hard trying to recreate just the weirdness of what that CDI like art style did, and it's so fun just to see the weird characters do weird expressions that make them somehow even weirder. It's just it's like it has no right to be so good, but it's like because it knows what it is and it owns it, it's just hysterical to play, and like even the like I said, the platforming and the combat isn't like great, but it's like it knows it's janky a little bit, and if you accept, okay, this is a little weird and it's a little janky, it's tailored to feel that way, which makes it somehow better, right? Because like there's a lot of janky like action platformers. Like criticized Zelda 2 for this for a long time. But
it's like good to decent gameplay, but
yeah,
it's like a 10 out of 10 in terms of charm. I would
yeah,
say.
and it's, you know, because it's like when a game just knows what it is and it owns it. It's, I think that's in a lot of different kinds of media. I think that's really important, and it can be shit as long as it knows it's shit, and it's just like we're gonna lean into that as hard as we possibly can, and sometimes that just makes things so good. Yeah, because it's like it leans into being a shitty game so hard that it ends up being good.
Yeah, it's you can tell it was created by someone who had genuine passion for the source material, which is insane to me.
Yeah, because very few people have passion for that source material unless it is
like,
the passion of hatred. But there is like it's this weird corner of the internet, right? That's just like, yes, I am going to play the shit out of this so that I can screen cap every frame and make a meme out of it. That's what, like, that's the kind of people that love the CDI games. And I feel like that's the kind of people that worked on this game, was just like, yes, we have made the memes, but now we're out of material to make the memes with, so let's make a game, right? That's almost what it feels like, in the best possible way, even though that's a really weird thing to...
It's a weird... Yeah.
To say in a good light. Yeah.
It's also worth noting it has a much better soundtrack than I would say it deserves.
Yeah, actually the music's pretty solid, like the whole way through.
Yeah. That boss fight theme is great, and it's a shame that you'll almost never hear the entire thing because the bosses are so fucking easy. And if you'll pardon me, I've been sitting on this gay Rice Krispie treat for way too long now. I might just dig into that. So big and fly.